I've got it wrong, Laura, and it was during Mr. Bush's second inaugural address. When you remember, you and I discussed this very much at the time, when he laid out a vision I found to be so utopian and yet also so aggressive at the same time towards the world that I thought, whoa, I may have misunderstood these people. I may be misunderstanding what they think they're about and what they're doing. And it was a cause for the beginning of a great rethinking and reevaluating that was literally a day-by-day process that was very, not to make it self-referential, but it was very painful for me. In that, I think I was like many Republicans. This has been a painful time. It hurts to say you were wrong, and it hurts to think through how you did it, where you got it wrong.
Well, we also haven't had an attack since September 11th. I mean,
True
obviously,
enough.
President Bush deserves a lot of credit for that. But on immigration, on spending, clearly on Harriet Miers, Dubai ports, there's a lot of disillusionment out there. My question to you, Peggy, is can this marriage, this conservative marriage, be saved? Are we headed for divorce court?
We are living through a hard time. We got bumps on the road every day. Conservatives are trying to refine their meaning and get their hands about it each day as they look at each of these presidential candidates and try to figure, is he the one who philosophically agrees with me? Is this what we're about? Is this guy what we're about? If it works that a Republican is elected in the year 2008, these tensions and struggles will be worked out in that man's presidential administration. If a Republican is not elected, this is all going to be worked out on the ground, and I think we're going to replicate what happened, Laura, in 1978, 30 years ago. The Republican establishment at that time had failed. It had embarrassed the party and frustrated it. What did the people do? They stopped looking to Washington in a way for a second. They started looking locally. All of a sudden in California there was a prairie fire called Proposition 13. It was the people rising up against taxes. In Boston they were rising against busing. In New York they were starting to rise against crime. This was the people moving the party forward against the advice, interests, and hopes of its establishment. We may go through that again, in which case, well, that wouldn't be the worst thing.
Well, in fact, conservative principles, the enduring principles, I ticked some of them off in the talking points memo. Those don't have to change just because the new set of challenges are before us. In fact, I think those actually really do connect with voters if you have a leader who can bring people along to these ideas. And I think it needs a reinvigorated leadership, Peggy.
Well, I'll tell you what I think. Conservatism springs from realism. It springs from an understanding of who human beings are, how imperfect they are and how fantastic they are. It's all kind of a big mix, but conservatism is for realists, people who are realistic about who human beings are. If we take that conservatism, that knowledge of humans, that understanding of the state and the individual and what is owed to who, if we take those solid things and bring them into the year 2007 and apply them to these new problems, and we do have many new problems, that, I think, is the answer. I'm afraid I was too wordy, but what I mean is hold on to the principles, bring them into now, make it new. I'm not big on messianic leaders, if I'm saying it correctly, but I'm very big on taking thought into today.
And Peggy, I think the New York Times editorial board's endorsement of John McCain for conservatives, that's just, I mean, they look at that and they say, wait a second, we were supporting John McCain, we got to take a closer look at him. So that's probably going to be difficult for that campaign as we continue with this fight on the right. Peggy, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me.
And next, our Democratic leaders fed up with Bill Clinton.